and more. It's a Tuesday, and we're ready to get up from New York. Look at this array, this assembly of acumen that we have put together here. And Jess Mendoza will be along as well. Jalen will be along as well, so we're jam-packed. But let's start with the Monday Night Football game last night in Pittsburgh, because while it wasn't the second, managed to wrangle defeat from the jaws of victory. Second quarter, Dolphins up 14-3, and there it goes.
Hit him in a bad spot, right between the numbers, and tips in the NFL lead to easy interceptions, falls right into Minkah Fitzpatrick's lap.
One of two he'd have against his former team. And then here's the play everyone is talking about.
I think our colleague Mina Kimes deemed this the best. It's called the tank pressure, where everyone blitzes and no one else covers. And then you give the opposing team, the Steelers, an incredibly easy touchdown.
We will talk much more about this in a moment. Meanwhile, 14-10 at the half. Then after Fitzpatrick's second interception of the game, how about this catch by Juju?
The young star. Good to see him showing up on a Monday Night Football game. The inside fade. I'd expect to see this next Monday night on a Randy Moss, you got mossed segment. Incredible effort by Juju.
17 unanswered for the Steelers, so now they're ahead. And then why not give it to your horse to put this one away when you need it? James Conner right up the middle.
Really nice job of seeing the double team and then a cutback. And watch that contact balance finish. Puts his hand on the ground, make sure he gets that ball over the goal line.
Dolphins weren't coming back because they're not trying, but there was one bad moment here for James Conner at the end. He had 23 carries for 145 yards, but leaves there in the final few minutes with an AC joint injury. It did not look good. We'll get the latest on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, the latest from Pittsburgh is reasonably good. Now, here's the concern. As the Steelers try to work their way back into a playoff picture, Conner is the big question mark. The impact cannot be overstated. Steelers are 10-2-1 since 2018, when Conner has over 70 scrimmage yards and just 1-6 when he is under. So, Dan Graziano, let's start there. For a Steeler team that I'm about to make an argument still has a lot to play for, what are we hearing about James Conner?
Relatively positive news. It sounds like the AC diagnosis is better than if the X-ray had revealed a fracture. So I think it's possible he has to miss some practice time on a short week, but I think there's some optimism that he might be able to play against the Colts on Sunday. We'll see how the week goes for him.
That shapes up to be a very big game. Swagoo, I'm about to make a case to you here. Right? I'm a lawyer, and you're the skeptical judge, okay? We have talked at length at this desk about how the division never ran away from the Browns, so they still have hope. Well, the division never ran away from the Steelers either. They are right now sitting at 3-5. They are only 2 games out of first in the division. And the Ravens, who lead that division, play New England this week. I'm sitting here telling you that next Monday morning, the Steelers are going to be 1 game out of first in the AFC North.
Ugh. That's what I'll say to that. No, listen, G, I know everybody's excited. Let's not forget it was the damn Dolphins. That's number one. Number two is positioning, because of how abysmal this conference has been, this division has been. So the Steelers are sitting there. You know what I saw last night, though? I saw Mason Rudolph miss a lot of passes. I saw him hang in the pocket, and I'm thinking to myself, if the Dolphins had any pass rusher, they'd have sacked Mason Rudolph 10 times last night. This team had a great night against a terrible team that's tanking for Chase Young as opposed to Tua. And then when you start thinking about how Pittsburgh wants to move forward, there were some bright spots. They're still trying to figure out, can Mason Rudolph be a legit quarterback? Can they do all this? But hell no, G. Come on, man.
Again, I'm not making an argument they're good. I'm making an argument the division might be bad, and I misspoke. They're not 3-5. They're 3-4. It's not as bad even as that. Let's quickly, though, talk about that defense. And can we put Mina's tweet up there? Let's give credit where credit is due. Mina Kimes with a brilliant – look at that. That is an outstanding job of describing this defense.
I feel like I don't need to do any breakdowns on Get Up anymore because Mina has stolen the show. I mean, this is the tank version of a pressure, right? When you have – remember, like, we talked about the Dolphins, and I was like, oh, man, coaches don't tank? Players don't. I don't know. This play, they blitzed 8 guys and did not cover anyone else. And to Mina's point, that's why she drew the tank on the field.
What do you think?
I never seen anything like that.
I'd ask for a trade.
Mika already did.
They all do.
I would. I would ask for a trade. If I'm a player, if I'm Xavier Howard and I'm looking at us call this defense right here, I'm like, okay, I see what this is for real.
And that was like 3rd and 20.
And listen, this is what everybody was thinking last night. I put the same tweet up. I was like, Miami really tanking. Like, visually, that was a tank.
I need to keep it here, Nick, and I'm sorry, and Nick is not sitting here, but for all of you at home, I'm talking to someone who's not in the conversation, but I need another minute here because let's make it clear. We talk all the time about how organizations tank, but players and coaches don't. That is a defense on that play that is inexcusable, right? There was no other way to defend it.
Gee, I played in this league 9 years. And if my coach called a play like that on 3rd and 25, we having a damn fight on the sideline. All right, I don't believe in that anymore because, look, the Dolphins players know all the talk that's been surrounding the Miami Dolphins as far as what they're trying to do for the future. That's a give me play. That's almost like let them score so we can get the ball back and score. Except it's not time to do that yet. That's horrible.
The only time I've ever seen anything remotely close to that has been a Hail Mary situation where you took 5 guys or 4 guys and put them on the goal line and forced the team to throw short and then everyone rally and tackle. I've never seen.
This is the opposite of that.
Yeah, and this was a big moment. Like, the game was still in play here right before the half, obviously. I've never seen anything that structurally unsound on purpose.
There's no way you should be in there. No way, unless you're trying to get the first pick of the draft.
All right, yeah, with that, I think that was necessary to say because this is something that I think people have to be taking into account when they're looking at what they're seeing out there on the field. I think that was a point that was worth making. Meanwhile, it is an important day across the National Football League. Elle, let's go to that.
That's right. NFL trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern today. And yesterday, our own Adam Schefter reported that the Giants made a rare trade with their rival Jets. For defensive lineman Leonard Williams, the Jets will receive a 3rd-round pick in 2020 and a 5th rounder in 2021. So let's talk with Dan Graziano, our NFL insider, and Mike Tannenbaum is here as well. I want to go kind of tape to tape on some other names that are percolating right now. Let's start with Bengals receiver A.J. Green. What's the latest?
Everybody would like to know if A.J. Green's available because he's the best receiver out there that could be. But so far, A, he hasn't played this year, and B, the Bengals have not wanted to make him available. The Bengals are not interested in doing these deadline deals just to amass picks. They want to keep Green on their team and try and win games in the second half. You can argue with that strategy if you want, but that's where the Bengals are at this point. If you need a receiver, Robbie Anderson from the Jets or Rashad Higgins from the Browns is a more likely target.
Can imagine people need cornerback help. So what's latest on Broncos corner Chris Harris Jr.?
Yeah, like A.J. Green, another guy in the final year of his deal. You'd think, hey, the Broncos going nowhere. Sorry, El, the Broncos not going to have a big year, but maybe they'll trade him for picks. But so far, the Broncos have been resistant. Look, the deadline is coming up here in 8 hours,
right.
So things could change. But so far, if you need a cornerback, there are other options like Josh Norman of Washington. Speaking of Washington, yeah, Josh Norman, right? He's available. He's got a contract they'd like to move. And then, of course, the big mystery that has been the big mystery since the summertime. Trent Williams, the offensive tackle, has not reported, doesn't want to play for Washington anymore. So far, teams such as the Cleveland Browns that have called about Trent Williams he's a guy that could move. And I think the Eagles are a team that could absolutely be very active today. They need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. They made one trade with the Browns yesterday. So we'll see if they continue to look for help there in the secondary or maybe even just in defense in general because they're getting lit up.
Yeah, a lot of people thought a missed opportunity to go after Jalen Ramsey there. It certainly didn't work out. He ended up in L.A. Dan Graziano, Mike Tannenbaum breaking down what's going to be an active day we anticipate. Greeny, let's get to officiating.
Yeah, let's get to a fine waiting to happen. Bucs head coach Bruce Arians woke up Monday still mad at the officiating after his teams lost to Tennessee Sunday, and he had a point. Late in the 4th quarter, an early whistle, clearly a terrible call, cost Tampa a potential go-ahead touchdown on a fumble recovery. He's mad.
Referees aren't held accountable. Coaches get fired, general managers get fired, players get cut. Referees aren't accountable, and it's a shame. It's been that way for 40 years, and now that we got a new agreement.